All right. Good old Tomboy Official. What's going on? Um, I was kind of coming across some social uh, YouTube content, and there was this one guy who was explaining. I only watched the beginning, but he was saying, he's gone out of the country. He goes away for like 4 months, 6 months, multiple months at a time. African American guy. Looks young. Looks like he's in his 20s, maybe late 20s, mid to late 20s. Um, and he had some kind of curls that were kind of like locks, almost like locks. I don't know what they're called, but they were like curls, like long curls as like bangs, kind of like almost like an afro, but it was like curls. Um, in shape, like thin in shape, not like obese. Not that there's anything bad about being obese. I'm just saying, just a description. He was, yeah, he just seemed younger, and was mentioning that he goes out of the country, and he says in America it's hard for people to live a good social life because I don't know if he said why, but he mentioned that he's like when he travels, he says in a lot of places in Africa, in a lot of Asian countries, a lot of African countries. I don't know if he mentioned other countries, but he was just saying almost anywhere he's traveled in the world, he notices there's more community, more people out and about in a lot of places. And then when he comes back, he always asks people the same thing, like catching up with friends and people he knows, like, hey, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? And he always gets the same response that people saying, I've been maintaining or haven't really been up to anything. And he's like, well, he's been gone for like months. Um, and I do think, okay, if that's the only question, and, I think with Americans that is kind of a thing. This is okay, so I'm going to go into some of my own opinions. But I think with Americans, myself being American, um, it's customary to say that you're either doing good or something more neutral. You rarely, upon, first meeting somebody, you would rarely say that you're not doing well. And I would say, okay, this is my opinion, but I think the exceptions to that are if it's someone you see on a very regular basis, like if you live with someone, if it's like a roommate, a housemate, a family member that you live with, a partner, or if you've just been spending a lot of time with someone and in communication with someone for a long time, and they're asking you how you're feeling or how you're doing or what you've been up to, you might be a little more honest about if there's any struggles going on or any activities you've been like immediately doing. You'll be more detailed and open about that kind of stuff, I think, in those settings. Like, I think usually it's like the more, I don't want to say distance as in it, to imply like it's like you're not close enough to somebody, but like distance, like the more distance you have from someone, I think the more likely a person is to give a response that is just very kind of vague. And you know if a person isn't doing well, they're not going to probably say it if they haven't been regularly communicating with someone or like develop that trust. Like if I have a friend I haven't seen in like years in person and we meet up and they're like, how are you doing? I probably am not going to just like unload on them. I'd probably be like, if I wasn't doing well, I'd probably be like, like, like things are alright. Like I kind of, caught you up on some of it, but I probably wouldn't go into details right then. I'd probably want to check and see how they're doing. I'd probably wait until we kind of caught up a little bit more. And then when things are more caught up, you know, more well rounded, then I might go into like, okay, let's get into the nitty gritty of things. And I don't think I'm like purposely doing that. Like the way that I just explained it, I'm not like, okay, like we haven't seen each other in this amount of time, therefore I cannot give this answer yet. It's just like, I think there's just a comfort level with it. Like, that's one thing that I'm thinking. Um, and it can go the other way too. It doesn't have to be just negative, it can be like positive thoughts. Um, Too, like if you're having like a good time, like there's a friend that I haven't seen for almost a year. I don't remember how long it's been. Let's call it a year. I haven't really seen him, and I haven't really seen him for like almost a year. And we met up in, let's call it September. It's November right now, and it was a good experience. I was glad to catch up. I got to catch up with a few friends. One was in town that I hadn't seen since maybe April of 2023 or something. And then another one was in town that I hadn't really seen. Well, yeah, I hadn't really seen in person, but we kind of talk regularly. But I hadn't seen him since for like maybe about a year or two. And then, so I guess I was around like maybe three people that I hadn't really seen for like a year. And we're all kind of catching up. And we grew up together. Like, we've known each other since like, one guy I met in second grade, one person I met well, when I was in third grade, another person I met when I was in, I want to say eighth grade. And I'm 41, so we've been going strong for a while. We've had time periods where we're out of touch, but due to like church community and stuff, and our parents being mostly of the same religious background, and one of the friends having their parents send them to the religious school, all of our parents kind of like raised us around each other, kind of, and all of our parents kind of live relatively in the same city in LA, in the same area of LA. And so, at the very least, most of us are going to be home around the holidays and catch up then, or, we have people in those areas where we can catch up. Um, so, we mostly have that in common, and it makes it easier for us to meet up. Otherwise, I don't know if we would have stayed in touch so long, but I think we kind of like had a lifestyle where we saw each other almost every day of the week up until maybe junior year of high school. And then from about junior year of high school, a couple of us were still local, and so we still saw each other all the way through, at least on the weekends, through high school and college. We went to the same community college for like 2 to 3 years together. Um, and, so after that point, so I'd say till about age 23, let's call it, we kind of saw each other some of us from like second, third grade all the way to like our 20s. And then even after that, we still at least make time for each other, when we can all kind of be in the same area. And so I kind of, I kind of, you know, I kind of, appreciate that. It's rare, and especially in a city like LA, that's more of like, it seems like that's more of like a small town kind of situation, not like a normal LA big city kind of experience where people are like that for that long, kind of like in touch with one another. I like it, but I wonder what my life would look like socially if I didn't have that. it's kind of like a grounded set of friends that like we've known each other for so long. And it's not just three of us, there's more of us. But that was just, I'm just thinking of an example when that's kind of like the background with those friends. And we're hanging out at the mall. And one of them asked me like, "Oh, what do you do for fun? Like, what have you been up to?" Like, and then I kind of like explained what I do, but it was kind of like I was like, "Oh yeah, I do a lot of stuff online, websites, podcasts, you know, that kind of thing. A lot of creative stuff, and you know, I didn't really go into too much detail, but I was like, it's kind of interesting. I was like, wow." It kind of made me think because I was like, this friend that I've known for so long does not know that about me. It's like, I've got these podcasts that have been rolling since like 2020, and even though I've backed off a little bit, um, mostly because um, I mean, things in life change, and while I was at that job, I kind of decreased the amount of time that I was waking up early to podcast before work. There was something about it where I just didn't have like a lifestyle during that time. Sometime after April of 2024, like my lifestyle kind of changed a bit being in that job, and I felt like I just didn't really have like too much of a lifestyle of things to talk about. I wasn't going to San Diego as much. I wasn't, you know, um, like hanging out as much or having social plans as much around that time. And other than, I mean, I still go do stuff because I did a lot during Pride and a lot during summer, but so it fit within that time period. So within that time period, I was doing stuff, but a lot of my energy from like 8:30 to 5 p.m. went to that job, and I'm not used to working that long. Um, there are other people who work 8 to 5. I was working 8:30 to 5, and I was working from home, so I wasn't like waking up to get to the work site at 8:30. I would have probably had to leave at like 6:45 or something to get there a little after 8. Um, just to be like 20 or so minutes early. So, I wasn't leaving the house at 6:45 in the morning, meaning that, I wasn't having to get up and ready and dressed by like 6:45 a.m. So that and drive home in traffic, and probably not get home till 6 something. Let's call it 6:15. It's probably a little before 6:30. That would have been my day. About six, leaving the house at 6:45. So and having breakfast and waking up, it would have been like probably about 6 a.m. to 6:20, just to work from 8:30 to 5. So I wasn't doing that. At least I was only working the 8:30 to 5. I wasn't having to, even though I would be up, I just wasn't podcasting because I was like, this is, I don't know why I didn't really have the energy to put too much time into it. Um, and I've been wanting to put more time into it lately. I just don't really know. My lifestyle isn't really very, like, I have a routine, but not a lot of it that fits within the content of this podcast. But I do notice that I'm kind of working on a lot of things. A lot of it has to do with my social life, and it is something that I enjoy, and that's something that I've realized. I was like, this, is probably one of the harder areas of my life because it's where I get a lot of my motivation. It's where I get a lot of just community and joy. I mean, I get joy by myself too, but a lot of times it's like I like to be around people that I enjoy being around as well as being around myself. And people that I want to spend time with and that I want to cultivate relationships and kind of connect with and catch up with and stay in touch with. And a lot of those people, I'm not seeing them even half as much as I'd want to see them. Even the friends that are local, you know, it's just hard to even just like afford to go out and do stuff. Like yesterday, I was kind of kicking myself because I was a little bit in not a rush, but I kind of made a plan. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to get out in the afternoon. So I had an errand to run because I was out of chapstick and I was out of lotion. And I'm like, I cannot go another day without these. I was going to order on Amazon Prime, but I was like, I want them today and I want them fast. And so I went to CVS because I don't like big stores, even though bigger stores are probably cheaper than CVS and like 7-Elevens and gas stations and, drugstores and convenience stores do cost more than the regular like Ralph's grocery market or like the organic spots. And then other stores like Walmart are definitely way more affordable, but you'll be waiting in line forever. You might not find parking fast. It's like the cheaper it is, there's more inconvenience to it, I guess. Um, and then the more convenient it is, like ordering something to get delivered, you know, it's either going to be a price where you got to pay for extra fees for like delivery fees and stuff, or if it's something like Amazon Prime, it wasn't something I could get same day, at least by that point in the day, and it would have had to be by the next day. And I was like, I need this today. I can't, the coconut oil was just not doing it for me, not totally. Um, so I went and got more. And I was kicking myself because I spent like 35 or so dollars because I got melatonin. Which I wasn't gonna get, but I was like, you know what, I need to, I didn't sleep that good the night before, and I was like, I need to make sure I sleep. And I've been out of melatonin for like over a week, and it's been fine being out of it, but I was like, I kind of need some more. So I bought that, and what I thought was going to be easy purchases, like I got the 3 pack of chapsticks. It was like 5 something dollars. I got lotion that was like, I got the smaller lotion. I was going to get the largest one, but it was like $13, and I'm like, $13? I'll just get the small one, and it was like 5 something, and then, or I don't know how much it was actually, but it was a lot of money. It was, let me see if I even have the receipt. I might have left it in the car. Oh, this is a different receipt. I think I left it in the car. It's a thick receipt. It's a long receipt. CVS gives you these long receipts. Um, they're like really long. They're like a foot long. Maybe, yeah, maybe even longer sometimes. They're really long receipts with all these like coupons on the bottom. But a lot of times the coupons don't even work, or it's of something that you literally just bought, so you're not gonna need like two to do another buy one get one free. It's like I didn't need 3 of them. But yeah, I saw how much I spent. It was like 30 something bucks. I'm like, I wasn't trying to spend that, that wasn't the plan. And then the plan was go to Bevmo and then go to the pier, and then I caught a little live jazz blues show at a little jazz blues kind of pop rock band. Not pop rock, I'd call it like alternative rock. Like they were jazz blues ish, but kind of more rock sounding. Um, Too, like it had like a rock edge to it. It was pretty dope. I was enjoying it. Watched the end of the Kansas City Buffalo football game while I was there, and caught the part of the sunset, and that was the end of my day from like about 2 o'clock to 5 something, and then I just came home. But you know, uh, it's a lot of money to do stuff. I was just running a little errand to get out and stuff. Paid $2 parking. It's like I almost spent $40, and I didn't even do anything. I was like, all I did was just like, I had to replenish some of my, keep my skin hydrated and everything. But that was just interesting. I was like, how did it come out that way? But I try to plan to do stuff with myself. and just go do it and chill. And I had a good day and recorded like an hour 45 minutes of podcasting, and then I kind of realized I was like, I don't really want to record that way. I'm gonna try not to record that way. Um, so I have been actually recording a lot, but a lot of it's kind of that old style, which you know I kind of realized it was maybe negative. Um, I mean, I kind of noticed it. I felt it. I was venting a lot, and I still vent a lot. I'm still venting, but I'm gonna I'm not gonna. It's gonna be hard for me to not do that, but I will try to maybe not do that as much. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I might actually. Let me just let me just back up a little bit. Like I want to post more positive stuff, but not like, ooh, let's not talk about if something's negative. I guess I want to put it that way. I want to talk about the positive aspects of things in addition to venting about the negative ones. Um, and I think the social stuff is something that I enjoy talking about a lot. I guess where it's hard is the aspect of if I'm going places with people, I don't really want to be like, oh, this person or that person. Like, I'm not going to be like name dropping, but I also don't want to be like talking about too much details. Like, I'm socializing and then like it's an experiment. Like every time I go out, it's just so I have something to post. Like, it's the opposite. Like, I have to be making plans to do stuff socially or even with myself. Like I just talked about what I did yesterday. Um, I have to I have to get out and do stuff like that. Like I can't. Like I don't have a home to invite people into. That's my space to do that. So I have to go out and meet people. I can't even invite people over necessarily. I guess technically if I wanted to, I could, but it still wouldn't be comfortable for me because, I have parents that are always home and never leave. And so I wouldn't be able to have guests and have my parents home um, all the time. And that is something that's a change for me because I think with all my friends, we all live in places with people where we can't invite people over. I Most of my friends, except for one, I have a friend who is a. I have maybe two friends that have partners and have places with their partners. Maybe they have kids. Um, Everyone else lives with parents or family or roommates, housemates. Of the people that I know in LA. And in San Diego, I think most of my friends down there now, newly, now most of them have their own places. But the difference is, I think all my friends in San Diego got licensed um, with their masters, and so a lot of them are making near the 70, 80K range. Um, and I have some friends that got doctorates, and I guess they're doing all right. I don't really know. Um, it just, I think they're struggling, to be honest. I think everyone I know is kind of struggling in Southern California. It's hard to kind of build a career. Like you really have to grind and you know be profitable financially um, without you know you know doing harm to yourself in the process. That's really what it is, and I've definitely learned that the hard way that you gotta listen to your body and you can't just do everything all the time um, without tending to what you actually need. Um, I guess I was never taught that, and I had to learn it by doing and getting my health in places where I was like, I am not functioning at an optimal level anymore. And knowing how to deal with that without doing things that would either get me fired or lose a job or lose traction on how far I've gotten with things. You know, I'm not trying to like go backwards. I'm not trying to like get a DUI or like get kicked out of anything. You know, um, it was hard enough with the program I was in, so I don't really want to, neglect too many things like that. But yeah, on the social level, that's kind of what I'm trying to address lately. That's kind of more of my focus lately, is the social stuff. Um, I definitely need the social, um, you know, and um, it's a big part of me balancing things out. I get a lot of energy from it. I get a lot of motivation from it. Um, and I like the people that I spend time with. I really like spending time with them. Um, Even if it's silly stuff, I like it. I'm usually enjoying doing things together with people. Even I think what's changed for me lately is the energy to do things. Like the money too, but we can do stuff that doesn't cost a fortune. I've gone places with friends and not purchased a thing. Like I didn't care. Parked like 4 or 5 blocks away, walked instead of paying for parking, gone and ordered maybe like a juice or a soda or something, and just kind of sat and talked, and everyone else was eating dinner and having meals, and I was just like, I don't need that. I just, I need to just come and be here and not spend a lot of money, and was pretty much fine with it. And I mean, if everyone goes out and nobody's eating, at a restaurant, that's different. But yeah, like I don't mind doing that. I don't care if it looks weird. I'll say that I'm not gonna really order anything, and I'll just show up. Or I'll try to order just like a little thing, like a drink or something. If I want to have dinner at home, I'll just say I'm gonna have dinner at home. I already bought food. I've already meal prepped. I've got food at home. I'm coming here to show up for your event. I don't do it all the time. I usually do buy stuff, but if I don't feel like it, I don't. And that's kind of taking the pressure off. Just kind of breaking a little bit of the social rules. Like at a certain point, it's like I don't really care. I'm doing what's best for me. I don't know anybody who really cares if I do that. Um, but especially because it's not all the time. It's just like when I do it, it's like strategically, like for a reason. Um, but I don't know. Like it's this guy in the video who was mentioning the social stuff. He was saying that about how people just don't socialize in the U.S. like they do in other places, and um, yeah. So if you consider how people do stuff in other places, then you know it's maybe possible to compare here. But I do think, I don't know, maybe just on a basic level, that might be why people were commenting that way when the guy asked them the question of what they've been up to when he was kind of like out of town. Or maybe it's like, he's been out of town and out of the country for a long time, and people don't want to compare because they know he's been out doing all these different kind of experiences, and they've been probably just going through the flow of things, and maybe haven't done anything outside of the mundane, schedule of, okay, like eat, sleep, work, you know, and fill in all the blanks to try to balance the other things out in between. But maybe they're not doing anything that seems exciting, so they say they don't do anything, or they haven't been doing anything. Maybe they're comparing it like, oh, well, you just got back from Zambia, and I've been just like sitting here at the computer working from home for the last 4 months and haven't, gone anywhere or really done anything outside of that, except for like the typical weekend stuff. Maybe go see a movie, maybe go to the beach, like just like a common kind of like no big events even, or no traveling. And so, if someone else has like a really big kind of life and you kind of have like more of a mundane schedule, you might be more likely to kind of say that you're not doing anything. I mean, in comparison, it might feel like I'm not doing anything compared to this other person. Um, but I think it might just be like that. Like, people are answering that way because of how he's kind of phrasing it. Maybe, I don't really know, but that might be what it is. They might not be completely um, what would you call it? They might not be completely, not doing anything. Um, they just might not want to mention what they've been doing because it doesn't seem interesting. Um, and then there is, the other side of people just not going out and doing too much lately. He kind of mentioned that. He was like, people don't seem to go out and do much, and um, I feel like it has. I went through some of those comments, and I was like, I think I would agree that people do stay in more. I think the pandemic did somewhat condition us, but I do think the economy has something to do with it too. And just, I think it's both. I don't know if it's more. I think it's multiple things all tied into that. Like maybe the pandemic conditioned us to find ways to be more comfortable staying home. And so we stay home more, or go home more, or don't go out as much, or don't plan to go out as much. And I feel like a lot has changed, so we don't go out as much. So on top of the financial, the mental health, the extra work hours, it's interesting because we always say 9 to 5. I keep joking about this lately with friends, but we always say 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, to imply like a 40-day work week. But I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't know anyone who works a 9 to 5. I know people who work 8:30 to 5, or 8 to 5, or 8 to 4:30. I don't know anyone who's only working 8 hours. Everyone's working 8.5 to 9 hours, or more. Some people work less, but most people I know are working more than 40 hours a week now. So they've even bumped up the hours of working. Even if it's not, I guess basically what's happening is if you have a 30-minute or 1 hour lunch, a lot of sites are making it so you don't have a paid lunch. Um, a lot of sites, that's something that, I mean, it's happened before. It's not like that isn't the case, but I do feel like there used to be more 9 to 5 jobs. And I guess they want all 8 hours of you working fully for 8 hours. Um, but I don't really know. Yeah, I kind of do think that, um, for those reasons, people are going out less. And I know for myself, my life has changed a lot, So it's like me going out in LA is way different from me going out in San Diego. Like in San Diego, you know, everything was like 15 minutes away, max maybe 35 minutes if I was going like to maybe like a little past La Mesa, or a little past, because I was more central, so a little past La Mesa, or like closer to the border, or a little like, you know, closer to like La Jolla or somewhere like north, it might take maybe 35 minutes. But, usually the people I knew all lived kind of centrally, and the places we would meet up, or the houses of people where we'd meet up, would always be like 15 minutes away. 20 minutes, was if you're trying to be kind of like a couple minutes early. And, so if you're Ubering, if you left like even, you could even leave like when people are getting there. If you're going to be late, you could still technically leave when people are getting there and still kind of get there within a 15-minute window, without being way too late. I would never do that out here in LA. It's like 15 minutes, I might not even be to the freeway yet. It's like I still gotta get on the dang freeway. I'm still driving in traffic, or if I'm waiting for the Uber and then they're driving me, and it's like, unless I'm hanging out in my local area with a couple people, there aren't that many people that I hang out with. Um, there are people that I know, but there aren't that many people that I actively make a lot of plans with. Um, and so talking to them, and then, I have friends that I'm kind of more in communication with that live in the 30 or so minute range of a drive, but if you don't count like traffic. Um, and then I have friends that live about an hour away, a few friends that live about an hour out in like Orange County, or it's like 50 minutes or so, like Hollywood, downtown. Downtown's a little closer, but it's congested. Everywhere is congested to get to. But as far as using the freeways, they're all congested depending on the time. But yeah, Orange County, like 40 something, 50 something minutes away. Um, yeah, so I've got friends in other places, but the ones that I actually talk to more and make more plans with aren't the ones that live like within the 15-minute range around me. I see those people about once a year, maybe a couple times a year, when I'm thinking about it. Um, as far as people being like reliable and actually making plans and following through, I'd say once or twice a year. Uh, Maybe up to 4 times a year for someone, for a couple people, for one or two people locally, but otherwise it's the people who live a little more distant in LA. I kind of make more plans with them. It just so happens to be that way. I mean, I could probably try harder to make plans with the people who live like right near me, but I just there's something about that. I just haven't really done it. Um, and I have my reasons why, but mostly because they're like religious people, so I've still got that hesitation of trying to like reconnect with the ultra religious types. Like I'm kind of like, like I see them, I'll hang out with them, I want to meet up with them, but I'm treading lightly around it. Um, I spent almost a decade in San Diego just living out a gay life, and then come back here, to live in a very Christian household with very Christian people, with a very Christian lifestyle, and then I leave the house and go do whatever I want. So it's like, you know, um, was that what if you've ever seen The Sopranos, where um, I think Meadow was mentioning something about sex. I don't remember what she said. She's the daughter, and then Tony Soprano's the dad, um, the main mobster gangster, but he's the dad. And I think Meadow says something like, because she mentions something about sex, and then he like gets really mad, and he's like, "We can't talk about sex at the breakfast table. I never want to hear you mention it." Something like that. And she's like, "This house is like 1950 or whatever." She said, she's like, "That's right. Out there, it's 19 whatever the year was, 1998 or whatever, and then like in here, it's 1954. It's like." And that's kind of how this house is. It's like, it's not 1954 necessarily, but in a way, it kind of got that Leave It to Beaver kind of mentality of things where it's like, we got to keep things on a, I don't want to call it a superficial level, but there's just not a lot of depth of level of things that we get into in our household. It's just kind of like surface level stuff, you know. There's not a lot of uh, trying to like challenge ideas, not like arguing, but like challenging ideas about things. Or, you know, we don't talk about political things or sexuality or anything, you know. It's just kind of like we all kind of have our own kind of opinions and ideas, but we don't necessarily. I think we know we're pretty far apart on a lot of things, and so we kind of just don't mention it. Like, I kind of know where my folks stand on a lot of stuff, like weed, alcohol, clubs, bars, um, even going to the movie theater, you know, like it's not necessarily. I mean, my mom's pretty lenient with movies and stuff, but my dad, I don't think he even watches movies or believes in them or like shows and things. He's really got a taboo around like movies, and I kind of grew up around, you know, well, my mom will let me kind of watch whatever or listen to whatever musically, but my dad, when he's home, he's like, you know, if there's even profanity, he's offended. I remember when Tupac got shot and died, and my dad was kind of like, "Why do you guys care that he died? He was a bad man and said bad words, and you know, had kind of like a foul mouth, and he didn't like some of the messages, I guess, in the music. I like the music. I love Tupac, but I just remember that where I was kind of like, you know, it was a day that we went to church, and I remember getting there. I think one of my friends was in tears, and they didn't mention it at church at all. It wasn't something that the church cared about. And I remember being like, you know, on the way home, just kind of like, oh, wow, I can't believe he's dead. I can't believe he's dead, you know? And like, you know, that was my parents' response. Like, my mom said absolutely nothing, and then my dad eventually shut down the conversation with, like, why do you guys even care? Because he's like a bad person, kind of thing. And I'm just thinking, like, okay, it's one thing to not like someone, but it's another thing to be like, and you got shot and killed, and we're happy about it. Like, that's, you know, I don't know. It's hard for me to really think that way about anybody, but I don't know, unless they're really actually like Hitler or some bad person like that. But you know, I don't think that would usually be my mentality about like a musician, even if they were lyrically saying things that I didn't agree with. Um, you know, I don't know, but yeah, this house, you know, there's not really a whole lot of that. So for me, socially, it's not, at least with my folks, it's not very fulfilling kind of socializing. It's more just like, all right, like the movie was good, or like, you know, like we're gonna eat this for dinner kind of thing. Like, or oh, I saw this online and it was funny, or like, you know, like we keep it civil. It's not terrible, but I mean, I'm not like that with my friends, you know, we kind of have more of a connection and like talk about life, you know. I don't talk about life with my parents. It's like not really something that I'm interested in doing. But for that reason, it's like, even though I live with people, it's like it's not people that, you know, we're really like spending quality time together. There's definitely not quantity time. I don't want more hours together necessarily. I'd love to see my siblings more, but I mean, I love my parents. I like kind of having some space. And I actually don't feel like I have enough space, even though we don't really talk about much. I would still like more space than what we already have. To me, this is too much. Um, you know, I just don't like, I don't want or need them too involved in certain aspects of my life. And especially when it's my social life with my friends and other things that I do, I don't really want them involved in that. I don't want them completely in the dark. Like, I'll tell them when I go places with certain people sometimes, but I kind of don't really need them to know my day to day or like understand my schedule or, any of that. I just kind of do what I'm doing. And I'm okay just kind of doing what I'm doing. I don't really need, you know, I don't think I really desire more depth. Um, I know how to address it if I feel like I want to, and I don't want to. Like, and it is kind of the religious thing. I do feel kind of like a lot of times with a lot of religious people lately, I just have not really been wanting to dive too deep into connecting with the ultra religious. Um, at least the family and friends I grew up with. Um, those specific people, because I know them well. I know how they see things, how they believe on a lot of things, and I'm not saying that we believe in a lot of the same overlapping things. There're just certain things that we don't overlap on, and I value hearing their opinions. I just don't want to share mine. I guess I'll put it that way. Um, I don't want to like share what I think about certain stuff. I just, if they want to say things, I'm like, okay, you tell me what you think. I'll listen, and I like to think about what they say and consider it. I value their opinions. But it's just a lot when you're pretty far apart with certain people on a lot of stuff in life. It's, for me, I've kind of felt like I need to distance myself from that. Just not that I need to be only around people that are like-minded. That part doesn't really matter if we really believe and think the same. I don't need it to be like exactly the same. I'm not exactly the same with anybody, I don't think. But I just think it's more so like the people I can actually talk to about stuff without either of us feeling like we're kind of stepping on anybody, or you know like I don't know, I don't really think I really want just too much of that connection, um because it gets to me. Like I find it getting to me, and I'm like, I just don't have to invite it. So I just won't. And I know a whole lot of people that I love being around. It's just the distance. It's That's mostly what it is. And then the energy to deal with the distance, because the distance creates more, of an energy drain just trying to meet up. It's like, okay, that's going to be an expense and time and energy to figure out either if I'm paying an Uber to take me, or if I take the bus and it's cheaper but it's going to take absolutely forever, or if I drive and then it's like, well, I can't drink if I'm driving, you know, and it's like, well, if we're going out for drinks, like I'm not driving, so I either have to take the bus or, you know, or not. The bus, I mean, between where I am and Long Beach, the bus is about a little less than an hour one way. So, but it's a couple dollars, and so that's not bad. Um, mm, but I don't know. I'm not too sure. Um, I mean, that's on my end, kind of where I am with stuff socially, but it's definitely taken that time to kind of, like I mentioned, like cultivate relationships with people, um, and they have to want that too if it's gonna happen. I've noticed with people that, I'm not trying to like slam anybody. I'm just saying, like, I've noticed with people that cancel a lot, it gets harder and harder to make plans, because it's like, do I want to go through, the whole effort of trying to make plans and then wait a few days and then see if it happens. But sometimes it takes like learning people and their methods of doing things. Like some people only really have the energy to go out near their house or something, and it's like, or can only, I have some friends where that's the situation, where it's like, if I don't meet them like at their house or near their house, we're probably not gonna go anywhere that far. And so I have to be cool with, doing stuff right near them. Um, or, you know, or the plans aren't going to work out, and it took me a while to figure that out. That it's like, this person can't do this distance. They've got some other thing going on. Whether they have to be home, maybe they have a job where they're on call or something and they can't be like, you know, too far away from home and need to get back to their computer or something. I mean, I have friends in all kinds of situations where it's like, it kind of makes sense. Um, but they didn't tell me that. I had to figure that out by plans getting canceled and canceled and canceled. Some friends they need more flexibility. So it's like, I've noticed with some people, they are still willing to hang out, but it's like they almost always, like 90% of the time, can't make the initial plan that we set, and now they need to do something else because they've double booked that time. They're going to be doing some other thing at that time. Can we meet tomorrow? And it's like, well, I pretty much always say no, but it's like, if I want to see them, I'm going to have to say, yeah, let's meet tomorrow. And so for some people, if I want to catch up with them, I have to be the one that's being flexible. And if it bothers me enough, I have to say something about it. But it's stuff that I've had to figure out, with the data, basically. Like, I don't even know if they know that that's what they're doing. And I don't even know if I'm 100% accurate. But I just think, I do have people in my life that I can meet up with, you know. Um, Kind of got to just meet them where they're at. Like, some people only want to meet and do certain stuff. So if I'm doing the stuff that they want to do, that I know they're already going to do, either by themselves or with other people, then I can just make plans to do the same thing with them. If they go to the gym all the time and I never see them because all their free time is at the gym, then I better meet them at their gym. Get a gas pass. Or if they go to smoothies after the gym, meet them for a smoothie after the gym. Like, it doesn't have to be, too hard. When there are the people there, it doesn't have to be that hard. But that's where I've noticed there's some wiggle room with that, with the canceling and stuff. But there can be, at least. But, you know, sometimes that's not what it is. Sometimes somebody just doesn't have it together to make plans, or they just have something, they have a lot that comes up, or something does come up, or like some urgent thing comes up, which is understandable, but it can be frustrating too when you're trying to juggle a lot of stuff and other people have their patterns and you're like, your pattern is getting in the way of my patterns. It's like, I only like to go out Saturday, Sunday, but this person only wants to go out Friday. It's like, okay. um but yeah, just trying to figure out that social stuff. That's kind of something I've been working on. And then there's a lot of goals I have to reach to get other stuff, to get towards some of the other stuff. There's a lot of goals I have to reach, because a lot of the hanging out has to do with where I live, and that's gonna have to change. So, everybody's not gonna move near me. I'm gonna have to move near the people I want to be near. So that's just taking way longer than I thought. But yeah, that's kind of what I had to say about that social thing. Um, but I don't know what people actually do spend their time doing when they're home. I really am trying not to just doom scroll, or, I'm trying to lately, I've been trying to purposely make a lot of my time online intentional. Like, I'm looking at this because I'm interested in this topic. I want to talk about this, or I want to think about this. and kind of dissect this idea. I do a lot of that, like analyzing stuff maybe and like taking ideas from stuff. Um, I do like being entertained. Um, Lately, I've been watching a lot of sports. I've been catching up with the women's soccer and watching a lot of on Paramount. Been watching a lot of LAFC, um, Angel City. Sorry, I'm thinking of MLS. The women's Angel City FC. They're um, yeah, I've been watching them, um, and they're great, you know. And I found that watching athletes and then watching female athletes, you know, it's you know, particularly female athletes, it's interesting to see, you know, the performance wise. It's like in a way, it's like I can see some of myself in them more than if I'm watching like guys sports and stuff, and how women's sports are definitely on the rise, and you have like Whoopi Goldberg trying to make some kind of women's sports network, and there's some women's sports bars around, and you know, that kind of stuff really catches my attention. Like I grew up being athletic. It gave me anxiety. I guess I got like performance anxiety from it. Because I remember always being a little bit stressed about like the game the next day, or like, but it was just so part of my routine. I just went through with it. Like my family always kept a good routine. You know, weekdays, you know, we did school or work, and then Fridays, you know, we always had like community stuff. So my brother would break dance. My sister, I don't know what she would do. She's a lot younger, so she had a whole different way of being raised. But yeah, I was in bands with friends pretty much throughout all of high school. So Friday nights we would practice. Saturdays we'd go to church. Saturday after church we'd practice. Saturday nights we'd go out. Sunday it was sports league. So whatever sport was in that season of the league, we would play between basketball, soccer, baseball. I played baseball up until, I don't know, junior high. I played basketball up until, I don't remember when, maybe high school, because the women's aged out pretty early. I think the men's went up to 12th grade, but the women's went up to, uh, I think it went up to 12th grade, but maybe 8th grade? I don't know. I don't remember. But the women's ended sooner. I want to say high school. Um, and then soccer. I played soccer up until my first year of grad school. And so, um, yeah, once I got my knee hyperextended, I kind of stopped playing. But I think I started snowboarding. I think I tried skiing first in like 7th or 8th grade. And then I was snowboarding since then. And went up probably almost every winter with, you know, a few that I didn't get to go up. And so those are kind of my sports, and like rollerblading. I got into skimboarding a little bit, but I'm too scared to fall, so I don't really do that. Um, and yeah, playing guitar, you know, that kind of stuff. I've been doing a lot of this stuff since I was pretty young, and you know, I don't remember, you know, I used to come home in high school. I wasn't on my phone. Like we would talk on the phone, but because it was connected to like dial up, you couldn't just be on the phone all day. Like people needed a computer, or we'd have a household computer where we'd share, so we'd get on it. But it was like, you know, somebody else is gonna need the computer. You know, we didn't have personal computers then, and so I basically would play guitar at night, and my brother, you know, I'd be in my room practicing Metallica. My brother would be in the other room dancing to Wu-Tang. It was like, you know, Beastie Boys or whatever. Like our house was kind of a loud house, but you know, like I think my sister picked up clarinet, and she's got a pretty good singing voice. Um, but yeah, we just grew up kind of doing a lot of stuff. I remember doing a lot of stuff. Um, and art, drawing, reading, writing. Like, I still do a lot of that stuff, but I am online more than I ever have been in my life. So that's a change that's kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to adjust it more, but it's just more being aware of it, because I'm like, okay, like, what have I been doing? Especially if it's a day when I'm not like working a lot that day, then it's like, what's going on? Um, but yeah, so well, I'm gonna get up. I might post more if I can, because now Spotify for creators makes it so that you can record and upload to your phone, upload through your phone using the app, and I like that more than having to go on my desktop and email it to myself, and then like download it on my computer and then upload it onto you know onto Spotify, and then publish it, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, it's too many steps. It's like, I don't want to do all that. It's too many steps, and then I get distracted. So yeah, but that's it for now. I'm gonna stay on the social topics for a while, but my social life has just changed, and so trying to navigate that is gonna be a little challenging, because I've kind of come to the realization that you know a lot has changed for myself and the people around me, and so I'm trying to learn ways to just adapt to it. I definitely was not adapting. I can tell you that much. I was fighting that, but that is I don't want to be delusional about it. Like, I kind of know the reality. It's just I was waiting for my mind to catch up with that and kind of be ready to do more with it. Um, but yeah, like, we're lucky we have decent weather out here. It's nice. It's cold, but it's cold. It's a little windy, but it's sunny. So I'll see. I might get out in the evening. I gotta get out earlier though now, because the sun goes down at like 4:40 something. So, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But at least I'm up with the sun. I woke up at 5 a.m. So I gotta eat breakfast. It's like almost 8:30.